Now, in a related development, the economy appears to be going through several challenges related to the state of borrowing. For instance, there have been concerns that Uganda may have borrowed more than it can contain. Now, to help us appreciate this, we have AUSI KIBOWA, an economist with the Initiative for Social and Economic Rights. Good evening and welcome to NTV Weekend Edition.
Good evening to you and good evening to all our viewers. I'm really excited to have this discussion with you.
Now, there are growing concerns that Uganda has borrowed more than it can take. Do you share these concerns?
Yeah, true. Government has actually borrowed really much more than it can manage. So, as AISA, we've noticed that there is a problem. The country seems to be struggling financially. And we wanted to delve deep and investigate the magnitude of the problem. So we conducted a research, and this is what we really found. The government, over the next 12 months, is going to be spending 41 billion daily on loan repayment. 41 billion daily on loan repayment. In just 5 days, they will have spent the equivalent of what will go to the social protection budget for the entire year. So that is the mess we're really in. And this is a problem that has compounded over the years, but we saw it shoot really high during the pandemic. So during the pandemic, in just 1 year, we saw our debt grow by over 35%. Government hadn't been frugally managing its finances, and when the pandemic hit, the government had no other option but to seek more loans. Yeah, and that is why we are in this mess.
So how is the increasing debt servicing eating into our plans? I mean, we are having funds being diverted into clearing these debts.
Yeah, the debt problem itself is, given the fact that we have to pay our lenders, that comes at a cost. Of course, that is money that would have otherwise been used to build hospitals, to build schools. But since we have a huge debt problem, we have to pay our lenders, so that money ends up in our lenders' pockets. So in the next 12 months, our government is actually going to spend double what it will actually spend on health and education combined. That is how big the issue really, really is. Yeah, and I know some of you have actually noticed that the exchange rate is actually going up at the moment. And the government can't really intervene. The reason the government can't intervene is because they have to keep those reserves within the central bank to be able to meet our external debt obligations. So government can't spend on health, can't spend on education, can't intervene within the forex market, can't spend on social protection, nothing like support for the vulnerable during the crisis. We are really struggling. Prices of everything is up, but because government has no finances and it only has to pay back its loans, then there is no other option. Yeah.
Well, many of these loans are non-performing, meaning that when they are borrowed, probably they are diverted and not actually used for what they are meant to. Why? Why is this so?
Probably that has to do with implementation challenges. So there has to do something to do with the delay in the release of those funds to the implementing agencies, but also the fact that government rushes to negotiate some of these loans before it has actually put in place the necessary environment to support the implementation. So you find yourself in a situation where the lender actually gives us the money, but then maybe government hasn't secured the land to construct the road, and then it spends over 3 years just negotiating for the land to construct the road. That is where the non-performing loans actually are coming from. And they are coming at a very high cost. Yeah, we are paying a lot of money in commitment fees because of our unused loans. Yeah.
Okay, we do hear now this has a great effect on, civil servants because many of them are not paid on time because, the government has to clear the huge debt. What is your take on this?
Yeah, it definitely has to affect every aspect of government spending. So where that is really coming from right now is when the pandemic struck, government, government realized that they didn't have the money. So they rushed to the IMF. Yeah. Now, when they rushed to the IMF, of course, there had to be some negotiation. If you really want money from me, you're going to have to spend frugally. You're going to have to cut unnecessary spending. And that is what we are seeing right now. That is what you notice, the delay in the release of some funds. Yeah, in the first quarter, all these issues you've been seeing in Parliament, where Parliament is really distressed with the low releases compared to what had been budgeted for. This is because of the IMF program that we are implementing, but it all stems back to the debt problem. Yeah.
So what solution would you offer, or how would you advise the government to go about this kind of scenario?
Well, the most immediate solution to me that comes to mind is debt relief. Yeah. So the government should approach its lenders and request for a suspension or a restructuring of its loans. We all do this at a personal level. If I took money from you and then I was hit by a shock and I realized I won't be able to pay back my money within the next, maybe within the agreed repayment period, I would approach you and request that you extend my loan or you cut the interest. That is exactly what government should be doing at the moment. And the IMF as well has told the government that you should consider debt relief. And as a matter of fact, actually, our lenders are willing to provide us with that relief. So when the pandemic hit, our biggest lenders actually told us, please approach us. We are willing to give you some debt relief.
Thank you so much, AUSI KIBOWA, for your